Greetings, fellow visitors. This is Upgrade Terminal, a Star of Providence fancast. I'm Malachi.
And I'm Nick. Welcome back to the facility. Today on Upgrade Terminal, we have a special guest, at least special to me. It's Dialixx. Say hello, Dialixx.
Hey, what's up? I've been intending to be on this podcast for a while now. I can't remember how long, but it's been some months, I think.
Yeah, we discussed some ideas back and forth as to what we'd like to have you on about, and today we're going to be talking about Advanced Geomancy. We're going to make that episode, and that seemed like the perfect excuse to have Dialixx on board.
Mm-hmm.
But first of all, Dialixx, why don't you formally introduce yourself?
I mean, I don't really have any extra frills to myself. Yeah, I'm Dialixx. I'm I can't really call myself a veteran of the Star of Providence server, but I'm getting there.
Yeah, I mean, you are a beta tester, you are a moderator, you have a reputation for enjoying difficult challenges within Star of Providence, so...
Yeah, to the point where they can't really trust my opinion on how difficult a room is or how difficult beta content is.
Yeah, I think seeing the loops as they're implemented in beta has kind of been like a refresher for everyone. Be like, oh, okay, this is what it's meant to be like.
Yeah.
So yeah. Usually we like to start our episodes with saying something nice that happened to us this week. Dialixx, what's been going on with you?
Well, right now I'm using a donor laptop. I kind of went through a few computers over the course of the last month or two as a result of bad fortune. Fell out of the sky. I'm using a donor laptop, and soon enough, within the next week or so, I'll be getting a new one of my own, and hopefully it won't blow up on me this time. So I'm quite happy about that. I get to play Star of Providence and be a part of the community again.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Mm-hmm. And keep on editing more rooms, I imagine.
Yeah, that and Advanced Geomancy releasing like immediately after I got the computer. Yeah, that's really convenient.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, the stars are aligning. You lost a couple computers, but you're getting one right when you need it.
Mm-hmm. Happens that way sometimes.
So what happened to your computers?
Kind of a mixture of bad luck and the fact that I've been running on old computers for years and years now. The primary one that I was using was 3 or 4 years old, not too old, still perfectly usable. But then I opened it up, tried to look inside it, opened it, closed it back up, opened it to use it. Apparently I got motherboard damage, and then same thing happened to the second one. And then the third one, it didn't blow up or anything, but it was basically it was a better frisbee than it was a computer. Let me just say that.
Okay, then. All right. Well, I'm glad, man. If you had no laptop when Advanced Geomancy would have come out, I imagine you would have just been miserable.
Oh, I'd have been sulking even more than I already was. Yeah, let me tell you.
Yeah, reminds me of the days when I could only watch people play Star of Providence. It was dark times.
Yeah.
So you used that computer for a long time. Do you give your computers names or personify them in any way? This is a random question.
I've thought about it. The first time I really did it was with this new frisbee laptop that I just described. I call it the trash top because why wouldn't you but otherwise, no, not really. I've thought about it for a long time.
Yeah. The trash top.
Yeah.
I like it. I don't name my computer, but I definitely think of my computer as an entity in a way. Just that's kind of how I always like to personify things habitually. I'm always curious. Nick, what about you? Do you think of your computer do you personify it?
No.
I somehow foresaw that answer, but I wanted to ask anyway.
That's fine. So, Malachi, what's something nice that happened to you this week?
This week, I woke up Saturday morning and was like, I haven't eaten pancakes in a really long time. So I looked up a recipe. We're so spoiled in modern days that we can have millions of recipes at our fingertips. Um, so found one that had some good ratings and made it up. And I made delicious, fluffy pancakes that were. There's something about coming back to a food you love after many years of not eating it, and just it's like coming home. You know, I'd been a waffle guy for many years, and just hadn't done pancakes because I didn't have the proper pan for it. You kind of To make good pancakes, you kind of need to have a no stick pan, and I had not invested in one of those. But because we bought one recently, I was like, I'm gonna take the plunge. I'm gonna make some pancakes. They were delicious.
I might have to make pancakes now that you mentioned them. I haven't had pancakes in a while either.
Yeah, I like to eat them hot with butter and honey and jam.
Mm.
I'm not a huge maple syrup. Actually, I love maple syrup, but it's too sweet, you know? And so the best breakfast for me is pancakes or waffles with some honey and or jam on top with a cup of coffee. So,
The last the last time I remember having pancakes, it was kind of a strange way to have pancakes. It was like they put chopped up walnuts and apples into the batter, and it was actually quite good.
well, that sounds good.
A lot of
And it
texture.
sounds healthier too.
Oh yeah, more fiber.
Hmm.
Um, Kind of blanking on what other nutrition would be. Yeah, sugar.
It just, well, anything that makes you happy is actually healthy for you. That's what the doctors say.
I mean, sure, I don't think the doctors would approve of me eating pizza every other day, though.
That's true. The other thing I'll say about pancakes is kind of one of the things that drove me away from them is they're a really common food in the US at like free breakfasts.
Mm-hmm.
So growing up, I was raised religious. Our church would have a lot of like pancake breakfasts. And in the community I live in now, like around the rodeo every year, 4th of July, like there's just pancake breakfasts everywhere because they're easy to make and it's cheap, right? It's something you can like make and provide to people for a really low cost. And so a lot of events center around it. However, the pancake batter they use is usually like the instant pancake batter that you can buy.
Mm.
And I hate that stuff so much. It just doesn't taste good, it just doesn't taste good. And when someone's trying to make like 2,000 pancakes, they're fast, they're cheap,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't leave a good taste in your mouth. So,
Tastes like
It's
cardboard, really.
yeah, exactly. Like a homemade recipe is the way to go.
Mhm.
Make them from scratch.
What about you, Nick? What good event has happened to you within the last week or so?
Well, aside from the release of Advanced Geomancy, I've still been playing Marble Outro, as I mentioned last time.
Hmm.
I've gotten back into Bloons Tower Defense 6 a little bit. It's one of the games I like to come back to every so often. It's just a fun, nice little way to spend my time. But uh, I think what I didn't mention last time was that I played a multiplayer game with friends called The Crew Quest for Planet 9. And it's this cooperative trick taking card game, which is a lot of fun, but it's a very cerebral game. It's very intense
Hmm.
because you all have hands of cards, but each of you also has specific cards that each of you has tried to win or take in each tricks, but you can't communicate what the hands in your cards are.
Hmm.
So you kind of have to talk out what information you can see only from the cards that they're playing, and you get to reveal, and like per round you get to reveal one card, and that's it. So you have to be like, okay, if this player has this card and they played this thing the other turn, then that probably means such and it's a lot of fun, but it's very intense and you need to strategize a lot, and I loved it, but it's not the type of game that's for everyone. You have to have a strategy and a kind of logic deduction from these things, and also just be okay with that sometimes you just have to rely on your gut and trust that luck is on your side, and you can't overthink it too much. So I love playing games with friends, and I've been trying to keep up the habit of doing a weekly multiplayer thing, and yeah, I've just been enjoying that a lot, and it's lovely.
What was the game's name again?
The Crew Quest for Planet 9, a cooperative trick-taking card game. Like you basically all play as astronauts that are going to go to the outer edges of the solar system, and like the whole campaign is divided into small missions that are each one hand of cards, and in each mission you have the thing. Okay, we're gonna deal out some tasks, which are basically just copies of cards, and you have to win that card, and you have to win that card, and you have to win that card, and again, it's a lot of fun, but boy howdy, is it you need to have a good team to win this, because it is not easy, and the manual itself tells you it's not an easy game, and you will need to develop a very strong sense of both your crew and how the game works to get far into it.
So what is it about Planet 9? Why is everybody questing to get it?
Well, because Pluto is no longer a planet, and in the story
they're
of the
trying
game,
to reclaim Pluto's honor.
No, they're saying, oh, we've detected something out there in the far reaches, but we don't know what it is, so we're going to send a crew over there to see what it is.
It's Pluto's mom, and she's pissed.
No, it's probably something like Eris.
So I think the first thing I want to ask is, what is geomancy within the universe of Star of Providence?
Okay, in the universe of Star of Providence, there are kind of 7 schools of magic.
Mm-hmm.
Each of them is sort of represented by one of the council mages.
Mm-hmm.
So you have Earth, Frost, Flame, Storm, Abyss, Sight, and Enigma. Took me a second there to remember all 7.
Congrats on listing those out in one go.
Yeah, that was impressive.
I have 1,500 hours in this game. I would hope I can manage to remember all of them.
Yeah, hang on. I'm settling in, Professor. Hang on. Let me. I'm ready for this.
Anyway, yeah. So that's, and geomancy is, as the name implies, it is magic over earth, over stone, over rock, over that element, as it were. Which, in the case of the game, happens to be the council member associated with that happens to be Bloke, which you don't actually get to see much of in the game, really, but it has been confirmed by Pure that yep, he's the master of geomancy, and sort of, and I think it's a very good choice of title, because in the game you are basically editing rooms, you are shifting the geography and the composition of rooms. It kind of does feel like geomancy, and boy howdy is the program advanced to let you do all manner of cool stuff with it.
Yeah.
I think canonically Bloke is the one that's doing all the room editing.
I mean, you could think of it as like the rooms that are in the facility are a construction of Bloke, in a sense, if you'd like.
Yeah, he was probably like the head builder, and he certainly helped build everything that you're experiencing in the game. Like the facility itself, probably a lot of the mechs, who knows. I think the name is perfect. And I would be really curious to ask Snake how long it took to come up with that, or if it was something that just came to them in a flash. But it also is reminiscent of the name of a class. Like, oh, I'm taking Advanced Geomancy, and I love that aspect of it as well, because there's certainly a learning aspect to it. As I've been seeing the rooms that people are creating, I'm thinking about the game in a whole new way, and I've actually been seeing how Flan and Pure and the developers are engaging with everyone, and it seems like we've been given a kind of peek behind the curtain in a way, because we're seeing, oh, okay. Before, when I played through rooms, I'm just playing through them, I'm not thinking on such a detailed level of the mechanics and what exactly is happening in each room, how they function, soft locks. I mean, there's all sorts of really interesting things I hadn't considered.
It's kind of like playing a puzzle with yourself in real time, trying to like think of design aspects that you can fit together in a cohesive and fun way without like pissing off the player, or like you said, soft locking or something.
I think the thing is, though, that this is a way for everyone to get some hands-on experience with level design, because it's, as a player, you're usually not thinking, well, why was that room good, or why did I enjoy it?
Yeah.
But if you're the one making the room, you're forced to ask yourself all these questions about, room composition and how you place enemies, if there's any sort of environmental, like interactable elements of the environment. And so it's like, oh wow, now you're starting to see the game in a different light as to how was this part of the game made. And
Absolutely.
I think we're going to see a lot of people getting a lot of insights as to why the rooms in the game are the way that they are through this program.
Well, with art, right? With art in general, if a painter
Mm-hmm.
goes to a museum to look at paintings, they're going to get a lot more out of it than I do, right?
Mm-hmm.
They might be able to tell things like different brush strokes, and they're analyzing a painting on a level that's fundamentally different than I am. So this level editor kind of functions in the same way. Like you said, Nick, I wouldn't play through rooms in Star of Providence and think, why was that fun? It's just, hey, on a visceral level, this was very fun. But trying to build a room and then test it is like, I'm starting to recognize a lot more of Team D13's brush strokes in the rooms. So I think it's going to increase like overall enjoyment and appreciation for the rooms that already exist in the game.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Something I noticed about the rooms that already exist within the game, I think I already knew this to a certain degree before Advanced Geomancy released, but like, for one, you can kind of get a feel for who exactly creates what kinds of rooms if you are active in the server and have a couple of examples at your disposal, like just playing through the game and comparing to the examples at your disposal. You should be able to. They kind of have like a silent signature in their rooms sometimes. Like Flan's style of room design is very distinct, and for that matter, you can also tell kind of like how you can tell like what time in development like rooms came along, for that matter as well, because stuff in excavation is naturally going to be leagues different, even disregarding difficulty, than something in, say, floor 6 or nowhere.
Yeah. And one of the things that did come about in the beta channel, which we mentioned, is that a lot of people obviously will want to make really interesting rooms, or really difficult rooms, or really just gimmicky rooms, but there is still a need in the game for there to be rooms that are kind of basic and are just the essentials, right? And you don't think about that, because everyone remembers the really difficult rooms or the really challenging rooms in the game. They're like, oh man, I hate this room, or oh, this room has a particular gimmick and I love it. But there's also a lot of rooms that just don't necessarily stand out, but are still important for the sake of the game. And this is something that I know that way back, Extruder did make a point of saying how it was all of these rooms, even the seemingly mundane ones, that contributed to the success of the game, because they're all most of them are still stimulating. They're still a challenge, but they're not an obstacle. They don't feel like they're stopping you. It's just a mini challenge every few seconds. Okay, I have to do this. Oh, okay, I have to do this. And so then you have the question of not just how do you design rooms, but how do you design whole floors, whole sets of rooms that go together. And that is also an interesting question that Advanced Geomancy can pose, because you're not just making one room, you're making rooms for an entire floor. And then you can start thinking about, do I want to theme this collection? Do I want there to be sort of, recurring elements? And I think those are all just, it's going to be fascinating seeing the community answer those questions, and then community members themselves developing their own style and their own signature design rules, as it were, for the game.
I'd never thought about that before, like the rhythm and like breathing room around some of the difficult rooms by just having simpler rooms, but that makes so much sense.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually something that I'm trying to like pay close attention to when I make rooms. I do want to have like breathing room, which is something that people have said I'm somewhat succeeding at, because I do have a knack for making difficult or punishing rooms. But I, for one, don't want to exhaust the player, and for two, yeah, and I also want to pay attention to the identity of the floors that the level packs belong to.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, one thing I'm doing with the one that I'm working on right now, I actually have the editor opened up right now. I'm restricting some of the hazards that I can use, like fire spitters. I'm not using those because I'm going to be using those more in archives and bellows.
I like that you're thinking not just about, the set of rooms that you make, but you also have like collections for each floor. So like for this floor I have these restrictions, for this floor I have these restrictions. And I imagine perhaps in the future you're gonna assemble a set or a pack where it's just okay. Advanced Geomancy can only change the rooms in the first floor, but if you use this pack and you replace every floor with each corresponding one that I made, you could have like an entire facility as built by Dialixx sometime in the future.
That is kind of what I'm aiming for. I told you I've already been working on a pack for the first floor. I even have a file for a few mini boss rooms.
That's really cool. It's like an alternate reality, where Dialixx was the Geomancer, the head Geomancer that built the facility.
I mean, the head Geomancer is always going to be pure question, ultimately. But he can be an apprentice.
What I've been trying to build, when I first started playing with it, I was just building rooms just for fun, and I wasn't even saving them. But when I started saving rooms, I didn't start testing them right away, and I didn't know that the Advanced Geomancy, you can't go like, I was kind of hoping that I could progress from room to room from the rooms I built to tell a sort of story.
Unfortunately, because of the way the game logic works, it first generates the layout and then picks what rooms go into each specific slot, so you can't force an order, as it were.
Yeah, which is understandable, but I wanted to do that because I was like, the possibilities with like environmental storytelling were super exciting to me. So the first thing I built was like a progression into the crawler kingdom, and was just having a lot of fun playing around with crawlers. And then I was like, oh, I can't do this sequentially, so I'm gonna abandon that idea.
It's a neat idea, though. You can finally make the crawler kingdom.
That reminds me of the ideas that I have for Nowhere whenever I eventually get around to making a level pack for it. What I want to do is to recycle old rooms and make them, like, remix them and make them a little meaner, or alter them in one way or another to adjust for the floor.
I mean, that is something that Nowhere already does. If you pay attention, you'll see that some of the rooms in Nowhere are rooms that are copies of previous ones, just made much harder, which is a detail that I absolutely love. Hats off to Pure Question for doing that.
Wow, I've never noticed that.
Oh yeah, there's some rooms that like if you spend as much time as me staring at these things, you eventually like, hey, I remember that. That's familiar to that other thing.
I know I've seen at least like rooms that are exactly the same as the ones found in other floors, but it takes more mental effort to remember examples of altered ones.
I mean, and describing them over podcast is not an efficient way of doing it. So
yeah, because I just have the entire room files memorized. I have photographic memory and can rattle off every one of the IDs of all the objects in the rooms.
Yeah.
So I've really been enjoying the sound effects there are, I think, over 200 individual sound effects in Advanced Geomancy.
As the itch.io page advertises.
Yes. Do you guys have a favorite sound effect?
A favorite out of all of them?
It's hard to pick a favorite, but is there one you're currently enjoying more than others?
There's a see if you click and drag soul extractors, it plays an almond break, and I think that's hilarious.
Yeah, actually, that's a good choice. I'll pick that one.
My favorite are the bones and icicles because it's kind of like xylophone and bells, and it's just very satisfying to place them.
Yeah, this is obvious for everyone who's used it, but the user experience for this program is phenomenal. It's amazing. It's so delightful and charming every step of the way.
Do you know what it reminded me of?
What?
It reminded me of the first time I used an iPhone. Because maybe this is a little hyperbolic, but I just was having fun with the UI and the sound effects and the way and just the feel of it, and just admiring that. Even before I even started seriously looking at the rooms, I'm just like going through it, playing. Ooh, what does this do? Yeah, the last time I was that entranced with like the UI of something was the first time I had used a smartphone.
I guess that's a very high compliment from you then.
Yeah.
It's astonishing just how well they crafted the game feel for an editor, no less.
Yeah. It's it's unnecessary polish to the most absurd degree.
And it's not like it's not appreciated because like the fact that it feels so good makes it so much fun to make and edit levels.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right, Dialixx. If it didn't feel the way it does, personally, I don't think I would like it. Because I don't normally like editing rooms or level does like I'm not as drawn to that as some people are. So what has drawn me in is that polish, and I think I mentioned this on our Rogue Transmission, but to me that's kind of a level of accessibility, right? Like because it's easy and enjoyable to do, there's going to be a lot more people that feel like jumping in and creating rooms. So
Yeah.
it's they called it unnecessary polish, but the more you polish something, the better the appeal is to people,
And I think that something for me, this is best exemplified in the test feature, because I think maybe you mentioned, someone else mentioned the fear that okay, you could edit rules, but then trying to get them into the game and make sure you don't mess up the files would be such a cumbersome thing. This makes it so smooth and so effortless to just test things. You just press Control plus T, and it's like, okay, replaced it, go, and then as soon as you close the prompt, okay, files reestablished or restored. And it's like, my goodness, it's so hassle free. You don't have to do anything, or almost basically next to nothing. And it's such a joy to just be able to do it so quickly and so effortlessly. It makes it allows you to be in the zone, to just go with the flow of editing. You don't have to worry about all the intermediate steps that might get you out of the creative process. You can just focus on that and testing with no distractions.
Yeah. So the developers have referenced a few secrets. I have found some secrets, but I'm wondering if I have found all of them. What secrets have you guys found?
I mean, there's the swarm swatter thing.
That's the one that I found. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the thing is,
any others?
I mean, I'm thinking, is it a secret or is it like an Easter egg?
Yeah, that's kind of an Easter egg.
I mean, you have the about page, and each person has their own little icon, and you can click those, and those just sort of jump out, and then you can just keep doing that, and just have a whole pile of them, and then you do cleanup, and Musicanos explodes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think Swarm Swatter is the biggest secret, but I kind of feel like there's more.
Oh, there's probably more, and I just haven't found it.
One thing that I found is that See, if you go into clairvoyance to look at Oracle Core,
Mm-hmm.
you can press F1 or go click help and then have the lens talk about Oracle Core. And apparently they don't trust each other.
Don't listen to this guy, it says.
Oh, wow.
Or like if you hit F1, if you open up the menu in MISC and clairvoyance, it says would advise staying away. Similarly, when you start the program, it says, welcome to like Advanced Geomancy, press F1 for help with this little mage guy, and 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 then you say a click and it floats away. If you press F1 and click on the guy before it flies away, it just says bye bye.
That's cute.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. But is that supposed to be snake block, or
We don't know.
it's just our geomancy professor?
It's a mascot of sorts, I suppose.
It is the Advanced Geomancer. There's only one of them.
Swarm Swatter. Speaking of Swarm Swatter, though, have you guys beat it?
No.
Okay.
I've gotten to
it's super
archives.
hard.
Yeah.
Hard.
I've gotten to maintenance system, and the thing about maintenance system is that the stage takes it gives you 9 minutes. So you can imagine what kinds of things it might have in it. It's like, yeah, I'll give you 9 minutes instead of 4 or 5. And it's like, ugh, it's a lot.
It is a lot. I was like, I didn't even realize when I first started playing it how big it is. I didn't realize there were boss fights. I thought all it was, oh, little swarmers come on, and it's just see how long you can survive.
Mm-hmm.
And then the first time I got to the boss, I'm like, wait a second. It said excavation when I started. Am I going through all the floors?
Yeah.
How deep does it go?
I'm wondering who's going to be the first to like post a long play of Swarm Swatter.
Yeah. Well, see, I had assumed that you guys had probably beat it because you're way better at the game than I am.
We're busy making rooms, man.
Plus, using the mouse as a means to dodge is different than using movement keys.
That would be like my one complaint about it, is that because your hitbox is attached to the cursor, which can fly to any part of the screen very quickly, it's very different. And in a lot of cases, because the thing is like your hurt box for the swatter can sometimes be in a very awkward position for some encounters. Like you have to try and make the enemies move in a certain way just so you can hit them, as opposed to Star of Providence, where you have full control over where you can attack enemies. So I'm like, neat idea. I would maybe I would think about doing it slightly differently if it was me.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited to see a full playthrough because I don't feel like I'll ever be able to beat it.
I might be able to beat it someday, but it would take a lot of patience, because like that's the other things. Like you have 5 health, and you get maybe 2 chances of getting one of it back at some point, and I kind of love it, but at the same time I'm like, this is a lot.
It's quite unforgiving.
Yeah.
It is. The reason I want to see it though is because there's like custom enemies,
Yep.
And then allegedly there's big crawlers once you get further in there. I'm like, wait,
yes.
how much is there? Like, what's going on? Yeah, something I'm very curious about. It is kind of difficult to describe rooms, but can you guys briefly describe your favorite room you've made? Not necessarily everything that is in it, but maybe part of it and why you like it. Do you think that's possible?
The first portal room that I made, I decided, hey, I want to make a portal reference. So, while I ran into a roadblock while making it, I forgot that portals teleport to the same color rather than
the portal colors.
Orange, blue, and portal colors, yeah. So I kept getting crashes as a result of that. What's it called? I called it Self-Esteem after the song Self-Esteem Fund in, I think, Portal 1. And it's got Chamberlain with 2 keystones guarding a soul extractor and 2 lost souls. Meant to be like a test chamber of sorts. Something cute like that.
Nice.
What about you, Malachi? What's your favorite room you've made?
So my favorite room I made so far, I haven't published it yet. I'm still kind of working through it, but um, I got the what are these enemies called? I got to refresh my memory here. Oh, transistors.
Mm-hmm.
And I put a transistor in every corner, and then a whole bunch of nodes up at the top in
Mm-hmm.
a formation. You can only enter the room through the right or left or bottom, and it feels very much like a shmup because
Mm-hmm.
there's instantly tons of bullets flying at you, and so you just have to like do a lot of micro dodging to get through.
Mm-hmm.
And because I've been playing a lot of shmups lately, that room was really satisfying and kind of fun to play. So I'm experimenting with doing a little bit more of that, and I just love the design of the transistor and the transistor nodes. What about you, Nick?
So one of the rooms I made is, so essentially there's a bunch of little jellies or swarmers that are caged off by lockstones.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also a malice engine at the center of the room, such that it sort of covers the entire cage. And the
Mm-hmm.
malice engine is guarded by two crawlers and a ghost lantern. You're thinking,
Ooh.
okay, but here's the thing: the jellies are sort of behind lockstone blocks, and there's one keystone at the corner of the room which you cannot access. Instead, what happened is that there's moving blocks, two moving blocks, and the lockstone has the little switch blocks that are protecting it from the moving blocks. And there's two valves at the corners. So what you're supposed to do is kind of defeat the malice engine and dodge
Mm-hmm.
the crawlers while you are using the valves to prevent the keystone from being crushed by the blocks that would let all the jellies out, which are covered by the malice engine area of effect, and they would swarm you. So it's kind of, you have to do this relatively very easy fight, but you have to keep your eye on the moving blocks, and if they are about to crush the keystone, and use the valve to sort of flip the polarity of the I guess what the name is, the switch blocks. It's a simple concept, but I like it.
I've got something similar with crawlers, and except it's you destroy the crawlers with the valve and the push the switch blocks. Yeah,
Mhm.
Oh, cool.
good room though.
Yeah, that is a good room.
I have a very hard time telling what is a good room and what is a difficult room, and I try to sprinkle some relatively, like, not fiendishly difficult ones in there.
I really just gauge it by, am I having fun making and playing the levels
Mm-hmm.
that I'm engaging with,
Mm-hmm.
and if I am having fun, I'll just publish them, and if basically let people tell me if it's like particularly brutal or
Mm-hmm.
unfair. Been having some good luck with that kind of what's the word, design ethos.
I mean, ultimately, that's how the Team 13 does it. It's like the only way to really know if a room is good is just to publish it and let people play it and see how they feel about it.
Mm-hmm.
Those who have tasted of the beta fruit. I certainly feel like there will be edits or there will be upgrades to this editor.
Oh, absolutely.
I
There's
hope
no way
so.
this is the end. They put so much love into it. They obviously care about it and will want it to continue to be able to interact with the game.
That being said, I think they've been working plenty hard to do this, so I wouldn't be surprised if they take a bit of a break.
They've earned it.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. And they might have a while before the update comes out anyway, you know?
Oh, when the update comes out, they're gonna have to all get to work on this real fast.
I mean, if nothing else, it's going to receive a little bit of a bug fix as well as integration into the game, considering that's what the devs are looking to do.
Yeah, I think I should mention, because we haven't mentioned it yet,
Integrated into the game proper?
in
Yes.
the Steam announcement of Advanced Geomancy, they said basically, yeah, we're declaring this editor official, and we're going to integrate it in the future.
Wow. I mean, I know that they had said that, but I didn't realize, I guess I didn't read the Steam update. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And that,
it's.
oh man, that right there is the biggest compliment that this team could have received. That's
I mean,
incredible.
I think that maybe this was in the beta channel, but Pierre did say that this, like, even when this was still in development, not yet released, it was better than the internal tools that they had developed, because this is
wow.
ultra polished and ultra lovely, and like, yeah, it makes sense.
Nick, have you seen screenshots of the old level editor? Because
I have.
yeah, they're kind of crusty, especially so in comparison to Advanced Geomancy.
So, isn't it very possible then that they've already been working on the update, incorporating the update into the room editor?
Possibly.
We don't know. That hasn't been commented on, I think.
I haven't seen anything.
I think that's pretty likely. At the very least, I mean, especially if Team D13 is wanting to use this room editor to edit the rooms they're putting into the game.
Oh, they almost certainly will do that.
Mm-hmm.
There's no lack of new rooms already in the beta. It's just kind of all of the other stuff and the spoiler stuff that still needs to be worked on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm finding myself missing a lot of the beta content. Like I know decorative blocks have been teased. I keep missing, like, I want to make my rooms lush
Prettier.
and lively, but there's only so many accent blocks I can use, and it makes me sad.
Well, let me put it this way. Would you have preferred that the team behind Advanced Geomancy would have waited until the update to incorporate all that, or are you glad you have it now?
I'm glad I have it now. I'm just
Okay.
lamenting the fact that we don't have a beta version of it where we can kind of like fool around in secrecy and with all the beta content.
You never know. You might get something like that very soon.
Perhaps.
Oh man, that would be. But the thing is, even if we did, I'd be wondering, could we release that? Like, if we make, like, if Dialixx and I did rooms with that, could we? Like, no.
No, you
So
couldn't.
it's probably going to be one of those things that's like late in development, like not high priority at the moment.
Yeah.
You know, one thing that I would like to see added in a future update is there are a lot of other there's environmental touches that are in the base game now, the game as it exists now, like candles and things like that I would love to be able to add. I thought I was going to be able to do that. That was one of the first things I looked for. I was like, oh, where are the candles?
There are
No. Not,
the decorative candles.
Yes. Like the candles, like little skulls, you know, like environmental touches.
Yeah, I was thinking about like the broken machines and the skulls and the microcore room, and I wanted to use those in a room for decoration, but you couldn't. So
again, my angle was environmental storytelling, right? And actually, that's one of my favorite things about the microcore room. You know, you go in there, there's like all these destroyed robots. It's like, oh, whoa, what happened here? It's a little ominous.
Yeah, show don't tell.
Yes. And so I wanted to create, like, I was just imagining like a room like full of candles, even with a bunch of mages would be cool. A room with a bunch of like just detritus like scattered around. You know, I like that feel of the microcore room, and I wanted to be able to incorporate that into the rooms I was designing.
I've made a couple of rooms with necromancers, candles, lost souls in them. Called one of them Bloodwater, I think.
Ooh.
It's a lot of fun. Like that's kind of one of the sources of inspiration that I have. I want to tell a story with a room or a couple of rooms, and hell, like I would adapt from other stories. Like I've made a couple of cave story rooms.
So, but like, I guess a question I have for you is, when you're designing a room, what tends to be the process behind it? How do you go from an empty canvas to a fully realized room? Are you inspired by, say, a particular theme, an aesthetic, a mechanic, a combination of elements?
Well, I have to have an idea first, and there's a few ways I come about having an idea. Combination of mechanics are kind of what I would play from initially, but now I'm coming to the point where I'm like thinking of room names like dumb jokes. Like there's this one called Non-Eucraldian where it's portals and crawlers.
I'm sorry, I know. That was slightly mean, but
it's whatever. I know it's bad. But I don't feel any shame about it.
That's fine.
You shouldn't.
Yeah.
And then I made a couple of Baba Is You rooms where it's like using push blocks in order to destroy keystones so you can get out. There's not even any enemies. And then, like I said, I would tell a story with a room or adapt from other media.
One of the interesting things, though, is that you can make a room with no enemies, and it can just be an environment of sorts, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm kind of saving that for when I get to making the shortcuts file.
Mm-hmm.
Though I might sprinkle in a couple of empty, just breather rooms, I suppose.
Well, I think we can all agree that the Advanced Geomancy is amazing in its current form, has almost unlimited potential, really, for them to iterate on it in the future. And just the fact that it exists and we know now that I know it's going to be incorporated into the game itself, I mean, it's incredible.
I'm gonna be blunt about it. This is the best thing that has happened to the community in a long time.
Oh yeah. It basically single-handedly revived what was kind of a rotting community as a result of. I mean, look at the Discord server. That's what I mean.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong.
I know what you mean. It's just a strong adjective.
I mean, I'm not afraid to speak the truth.
Yeah. Well, thank goodness we got the Animal Crossing happy home designer of Star of Providence.
Lovely.
Thanks so much for listening to our Star of Providence fancast. Big thanks to Garoslaw for allowing us to use his music and sound effects.
You can check out all of the Star of Providence soundtracks on the Bandcamp, the base game soundtrack, the Relics of the Past soundtrack, and the 5th Anniversary Edition soundtrack. And this time, I will also recommend that you check out the soundtrack for Advanced Geomancy itself too, done by RenRen.
Yeah, we will link to that in the show notes. Dialixx, thanks again for being here. Thanks for taking time to talk to us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. This has been a lot of fun.
Do you want to plug anything of yours, Dialixx?
The only thing I can really plug is my YouTube channel. It's got some, it's mostly Monolith content. Monolith Star of Providence. I still haven't gotten used to that.
It's fine.
It's hard to get. I literally called it Star of Providence Monolith yesterday, Nick, when we were talking. Anyway, it happens. But Dialixx has also posted a room pack on the room pack sharing channel in the Team B13 Discord. So if you don't have Advanced Geomancy, rectify that and go check out his rooms.
Yeah, and I'm still working on it, so there might be more rooms than, I think it's like 80, 90 right now. It'll be more.
Awesome. We'll definitely look forward to trying those out. If you have any comments or suggestions for the show, you can reach out to us on our Discord server. We'll post the server link in the show description.
And there you will find fellow pilots to talk with and discuss the show. Thanks for listening. We hope you'll join us next time.
This is what you came for, isn't it?
So be it.